So we're going to start with the crust. We're going to use a cup of all-purpose flour. And this is white lily. We're going to put this in there. And we'll save this out. So we're going to use it for something else in a minute. And a whole stick of butter. Lost my place. Yeah, a whole stick of butter. And that butter needs to be room temperature. And what we're going to do is we're going to use my blending fork and mix this butter and flour together. You can see how that blending fork just slides down through there and makes little sheets of butter. It's the best tool there is for cutting in butter into flour and streusel and that kind of thing, for your biscuits, for your toppings, any kind of recipe like that where you've got to cut in shortening or butter. Now my butter is a little bit stiffer than yours probably will be because I keep our house about 66 degrees, 66 to 68. So my butter is not real warm. So you're just going to keep working it until you get most of that flour incorporated in with the butter. And then after you do that, we are going to add a few pecans. Now, when I was a kid, I loved this dessert, and I still do today. So I've been eating it all my life. And you know what? It's one that never gets old to me. Never gets old. Let me show you what I'm doing so that you kind of see. I didn't really show y'all that tip. Okay? So when you're doing this, your flour wants to stay on the bottom of the bowl. So what you're going to do is take this blending fork and you're just going to flip it upside down like that to try to get the rest of that flour up on the top instead of on the bottom of the bowl. And that way you can continue to blend that flour into that butter like that. Okay. Now we're going to put in pecans. And we're going to put in a whole cup of pecans. And then you're going to mix it up. I'll mix it a little bit more when I get it in the pan. So what we're going to do is you're going to take a 13 by 9 sheet cake pan. And you're going to pour this in it. And you can mix it up a little more if you want to with your hands. Now that butter is going to melt. And when it starts melting, it's going to make a crust, okay? And so you're just going to spread this around in the pan. All my pecans want to be bunched up in one place around the edges for some reason. They need to be in with the flour, okay? So just press it down in the pan like that. You're going to get it in the oven at 450 degrees, and you're going to bake it 15 to 20 minutes. And this really needs to be cooled down before you put pudding on top of it, all right? So don't put cold pudding on top of a hot crust. All right, we're going to slide this in our oven. And we're going to toast it up good. Now that makes those pecans get nice and toasty. And boy, does it taste good with your pudding. Now we're going to make our pudding. You're going to need a large box of pudding and a regular box of pudding. So the large box is around 4 ounces, 4.5 ounces. The small one's about 3.5 ounces. So you're going to want chocolate. I didn't have the same brand, so I've got a Dove and an Aldi brand. But either way, it's chocolate, okay, pudding. And I am not using sugar-free. It is chocolate instant pudding, okay? And this is going to go in 4 cups of milk. All right, this one is 4 cups this measuring cup. And I love these larger measuring cups to be able to mix up stuff like this. They're great to use for egg whites and stuff like that too. And we're going to add enough milk to this. I'm actually going to add a little bit over the fill line for 4 cups. Why? Because all that pudding is in there, and it's taking a cup of space. So let me get it full. And then you're just going to take a whisk. You don't need a mixer or anything. You just need a good whisk. Then you're going to whisk it in this milk. And it'll set up pretty quick. I really want to get it mixed in there good. Now, if your mother made chocolate delight, let us know. And you know what? Chris's mother would always make pistachio pudding delight. You can make it with pistachio pudding. With St. Patty's Day coming up, you can make lime for key lime. And, I mean, you could just change it up. I'm going to add just a tiny bit more milk. Whisk it in there good. And so that's 4 cups of milk and then your pudding packets. We just used a whisk and stirred it up really good. That way we wouldn't make a big mess. All right. Now all we've got to do is get our cream cheese layer ready. It's got cream cheese, Cool Whip, and powdered sugar. Okay, the cream cheese layer is a cup of powdered sugar, and I've already got it in the bowl, 8 ounces of room temperature cream cheese. All right. And then we're going to blend this until it's nice and smooth, and then we're going to put in about a cup of Cool Whip. And if you don't have Cool Whip where you live, you can use whipping cream for this recipe. Just keep it refrigerated. Oh. This mixer has such a low setting, I think I could have probably cut in the butter with it, and it worked. It's an amazing little tool. I love the low setting on it. Keeps it from throwing everything everywhere and making a mess. All right, now I'm going to turn it up. We'll turn it up more. Now, you really should get your cream cheese at room temperature because it makes a beautiful creamy filling without lumps in it, okay? So now we're going to add about a cup of our Cool Whip to that. Mix it up. And that's our cream cheese layer. Okay, so we're going to cut off some parchment. I keep it right here in the drawer. Just use scissors to cut it. Then I just close it back up. I get these large boxes of parchment from Sam's Club. Okay. And we're just going to put some hot fudge in a throwaway parchment bag to decorate the top with. And of course, this is optional. You can use mini chocolate chips, or I got to shake it down. You can use mini chocolate chips. Let me just put the lid back on there for a second. shake it. Or you could put some chocolate curls on top if you have a candy bar. There's a lot of things you could do. But this is one of my favorite things to do. It makes it pretty, and it's not hard. That's just hot fudge. And I stuck it in the microwave like it told me to. All right, here's our crust. I got it a little brown on the edges, but it'll be good. It's not burnt. And what we're going to do now is we're going to put our cream cheese layer in there. So you layer the cream cheese first, and then you layer the pudding. So we're just going to get this cream cheese in the bottom. Now I'm just going to use a spatula and spread it around. Just try to get it pretty even. All right. This is an easy dessert. It's fast. It doesn't have to bake long. So it doesn't require a lot of prep work and hard work. Now we're going to put our pudding on that. So it should be set up, and it's just been sitting here on the counter just for a few minutes. And of course, we are going to put this in the refrigerator before Chris takes it down to the party he's going to. Now, in our cookbook, this is called Oreo Chocolate Delight because I used one layer of Oreo and one layer of chocolate pudding. But in this one, we are just using the original old-fashioned recipe, which is just the chocolate pudding. That's a lot of pudding. Now, pudding's lumpy. I guess it's the brand I used. And now you're just going to top it with the remaining Cool Whip in your container. I tell you to get a 16-ounce Cool Whip, which is the tall one. I'm going to spread this out on the top. Now, I've taught y'all how to hold a spatula many times. You put your pointer finger on the handle, and you use it at an angle like this. You don't use it flat, and it doesn't matter what kind of spatula you're holding. If you hold it like that, you're going to kind of dips into what you're spreading. See how it dips into it and it pushes it, and that way you don't get underneath there, you stay on top, and it's just much easier to ice that way, and it keeps the pudding pretty on the top. Now we are going to swirl this a little bit, so what I'm going to do, I'll go around the edge. This one's full. Alrighty. So I'm just going to take my hot fudge. I hope I've got enough in here. Woo! Tammy. I just messed up. Now let me just scoop that off. Just like that. Good thing about Cool Whip, it's easy to fix. So I guess we'll start here. I gotta go back and fix my mess ups. So now you're just going to take your spatula, go right down the middle, middle again, and then you're going to turn it all the way around and go the other direction. This way, and there you have it, Chocolate Delight. Easy, breezy, beautiful. So we're going to get this in the cooler and get it chilled, and we'll be right back. Today we are making one of my all-time favorites, and that is Today we're making one of my all-time favorites, and that is chocolate delight. Luscious layers of pecans toasted. Then you've got your cream cheese layer with sugar and Cool Whip, and then you've got a layer of pudding, and it's topped off with Cool Whip, and boy, is it good. So we're going to get started. I guess. Hey, it's Tammy with Collard Valley Cooks. I'm Tammy. My husband's name is Chris, and he's the cameraman. And we're going to get started making a delicious chocolate delight. Gotta mess it up. How's that? All right. I made me and Chris one so that I could have a bite, and my friend could have a bite tonight, and Amy can. Anyway, if you'll take a look, here it is. I just made it half the size, just like that one. The only difference is that I used Jell-O instant pudding instead of the off-brands. And when I mixed up my pudding, it was just as smooth as it could be. So that lumpy pudding was the brand of pudding, not because I used a wire whisk and not because I didn't beat it good. Now, if I had put it in a real big mixer and beat the hound out of it, I'm sure. But I'm telling you, if you're going to take this somewhere, you really should use the Jell-O instant pudding. I wish I had, because Chris is taking it out tonight, and now all that pudding that's in there lumpy, but I'm going to tell you, people don't care. They'll love it anyway. So we're going to get a bite. I dipped into mine. I didn't get my bottom crust quite as dark as Chris's. I love it. I also have another tip for you. If you decide to use a glass baking dish for this recipe, you really don't need to, because it goes in the oven at 450 degrees, and most glass dishes cannot go up to 450 degrees. So unless you know for sure yours can, make sure you use a metal pan, an aluminum pan, or a throwaway pan. Okay? That's important. All right. So tell me which flavor of this you like the best. There's lemon. We call that lemon lush. There's chocolate. There's key lime, pistachio, and I can't think of any other ones. You could do hazelnut. You could do butterscotch. All right. We'll see you next time on Collard Valley Cooks, where we cook like our mamas did.
Cooking time, it's over now. Tammy, she just showed you how to cook it up